Hey, Planeteers, welcome back for part two of my conversation with filmmaker slash polymath Leo Partible. Yes, I do have a license for that word, and he is one of a team that is putting forth a platform called Aim Direct, which will take care of many behind the scenes things in film production that you might not think about, in betweening previs, storyboarding, perhaps in Leo's mind, still based upon the ideas and the creation that he or anybody else using it would have. So I'm not sure that I'm convinced. I think I said that yesterday, but he does have some interesting perspectives. I should just let that speak for itself. I will be honest, this is the thing. I know I'm pretty primitive. This is very raw. This is very human. And I think if you are against AI, I can prove to you that nothing here is AI, because I am so clearly not slick. And I don't know if I want to be. So anyway, part two, the conversation with Leo Partible. The thing I'd say, I'm sure I have friends
Yeah.
screaming on this, is like, okay, do you promise you're not going to replace actors with AI?
So here's what's interesting. Because I mean, Sora costs a lot of money, and
Clearly, and lost a lot.
there's
They're
no
not.
return. And people keep thinking, okay, so we're gonna generate, like, every single person is gonna be able to make their own movie. Well, you won't. It's gonna cost you a couple $1,000s to stitch
Well,
up,
and so I
you
want to
know.
ask that too. Sorry,
Yeah.
is the cost of your service, because I've looked at, and again, I go back to Colin
Hmm.
Kaepernick, but this is where I really started noticing the phrases that go around AI. Never talks about how much it costs.
Yeah.
This year they pivoted to it's going to be just for the classroom.
Yeah.
But they also say we have a sliding scale of cost, still don't actually have numbers. And
Yeah.
so, I think a lot of people look at AI and the stars in their eyes, but there aren't the dollar signs that, should be, to say, like, it's going to cost you money.
Right.
Absolutely. And Sora, I don't think, also you couldn't do like more than 20 seconds. I might be
Yeah,
even too
15
generous to
seconds,
it.
and you're like,
15 seconds.
and that's that. Yeah, I mean, that's a dumbing down of everything. And I think, but here's the thing: like, when you're talking about art and tools, it's like Elvis came out and the Beatles came out, and suddenly everybody had guitars and drums, and then Zeppelin. I mean, all these people coming in, and then they go, "Wow, this is amazing!" And everybody starts a band, and then it just whittles down because everyone's like, "This is really hard." It's hard to play
Yeah.
the, and it's same thing. And then finally you have that 1%, or you have the bar bands that regularly play, but then you have the larger, local theater orchestras, but then you have the rock stars, right? Same thing with artists. People think, oh, we all have manga studio, we all have clip art. It's easy to create manga now, but how many people really do? Because I see people, and once they really understand what it means to be an artist, and the cost, and the sacrifice it needs, and also your motivation, the reason why you create art is because you have something to say. And 90% of people don't have anything to say. They can only take a meme.
They they think they do.
They think
And
they do, right?
but and that's the other thing about the so-called gatekeepers,
Hmm.
is you can take them away. You cannot make an audience find you.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I could do a comic book. No, I couldn't. I know that. But I can write one, um, and find an artist, etc. But I still can't make someone buy it.
Exactly. Exactly. And AI, when you see material, I've seen so much material, and they pass it off, and initially people are like, but they were selling so much, and until people find out, hey, you did this AI. And what's happening is that authenticity is the key right now. People want to know, can you play guitar? You know,
Hmm.
I mean, this is why you see hip hop artists. You see, like, Post Malone. He's pivoted from hip hop to country, and country rock and blues, right? You see,
Well, I
this is
want to
a guy that's
say
playing. He's got a yeah.
the first time that the Monkees reunited, like in
Hmm.
'92 or '93,
Hmm.
uh, maybe they've done it before, but or at least I saw them on tour. That was still a running gag in
Hmm.
their concerts to say, "Don't you know? The Monkees
Hmm.
don't play their own instruments."
Right,
I mean, and that was so important to them as artists to be authentic.
right,
And there've always been hacks. I mean, I'm just going to say, I got no better word at the moment, right? So
yeah,
it's just very interesting. It's giving you more access. And I'm really intrigued to see where this goes and what
yeah.
people you do with this. And I realize we danced away from how much does your AI cost?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. There's a on the platform, there's a free one, and it's like anything else. You have the credits and everything else, but then there is the $499, a month, which is more studio and everything else. So it does cost, but
Yeah.
it's just,
Okay.
and that's the thing that what people don't seem to understand. You cannot just press a button. You can do 15 seconds of it and wow. So I mean, actually, you can't wow people anymore because they look at them like that's AI, and so they scroll past
Yeah.
all that stuff. I know I do, but I'm intrigued by people who are just who create, who write, and also the big thing as educate when we're involved in educating people, right? This is why music education was important in regards to the arts because it allowed people to get involved in all sorts of types of, within the framework of humanities,
Hmm.
right? When you're writing poetry, whether you're writing dance, all of these things they were key to expanding in regards to our culture. And so,
Hmm.
same thing with this AI thing. Now it's assistive. Now it opens up it allows for us to move into filmmaking because I know not everyone's going to get into filmmaking because everyone's going to go, oh, like even right now, I talk to people and then I talk to them about filmmaking and they're trying to get into filmmaking. I'm like, oh, I got to know this and that. I'm like, wow, it's some of it just has to be John Cassavetes intuitive, right? Cassavetes used to take the camera and it was
Yeah.
just like close up and everything else, but he was very intuitive. Other people are very technical, like Ridley Scott, but you have to understand where you lie. And so in regards to the art, that's what's going to happen in terms of using this type of assistive AI. We have to be creating, and again, okay. So now people talk about their jobs being lost. Well, but there's an offset to that because if there's more people that need to be creating lifestyle-driven storytelling based on instead of advertisement, that means we're talking about everybody on the street or the community. So now that drives in if you're creating stories, right? Because now the audience is fractured. We don't have a mutual people. I know we lament the fact
No.
that we don't have a mutual. We're not watching things all at the same time, but at the same time, we're going local. So we're amplifying the local people. People come in, they tell a story. Somebody goes, "Oh, I got to go to that ice cream shop," or they go to downtown. Now they have the downtowns where small town streets, and
Hmm.
now they become destinations. Now you have a place to go in regards to, hey, I'm going to dress up. I want to go over to this place. I want to go to this installation. AI. We have new types of storytelling where the installations are AI driven. We have the sphere, right? The sphere is like
Yeah. We talked about
16,000. I
that.
mean,
Yeah.
you look at that stuff, and they had the Wizard of Oz is I mean, I think it made $290 million, and uh, and so it's like this is why Darren Aronofsky and a number of other people got involved with that type of AI. But it's a new type of storytelling. So all the jobs now you're taking away the middle management, you're taking away. Sure, you have the people that the in-betweeners that aren't going to get to do things, but at the same time, you know, people will transition. They're going to be necessarily going to be
They could pivot to
transitioning.
be telling their own
Yeah,
stories.
because also remember when rock and roll came out, it simplified everything. So you had pop music was orchestra, it was massive, it was Frank Sinatra. You had to pay right? It went from all
Do
that
you know
stuff, but then
how, I
suddenly
mean,
Elvis
I
comes.
you make me
Good.
feel old because it's true. I sometimes go, though, I miss those orchestras. I miss those like 40 voice choruses
Right.
and like 40s big band music, or,
Sure.
Disney songs,
Yeah.
so it is a matter of taste. I think perhaps what you've, if the young people, I've said I'm old, so the young people crave the genuine experience,
Right.
and so I think, yes, this could give a wider, a bigger table for people to sit at, basically.
Hmm.
Um, because you said, and even you can't help but say, well, look, Wizard of Oz made $280 million. And all I can think is, you started talking about every bean has a story, and Hollywood is run by bean counters to say, no, 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 no. Every bean has a number.
Right.
And and that's, we still have to choose. I mean, that's it,
Yeah.
and I'm fascinated by this, and I do want to see, where it goes, because I want to hear and see more things from you. Definitely. I mean, I can say that personally. There are a few people, I mean, yeah, maybe the $500 a month price tag is going to keep out the person that really doesn't have the passion for it.
Well, that's a thing. How much, if you're paying $500 a month, I mean, when you're in a bar band, for example, when you're think about like back in the 90s and everyone was buying the big stacks and stuff,
Yeah.
like every metal, every band had you had there was a cost to that stuff and the upkeep, and then the recording studios at that time, like it was, you could have all kinds of things, but it was still expensive. But same thing now, but though when we're talking about recording on the laptop, it still takes ingenuity. Like even if you're even the simplest uh, DAW, GarageBand, there's a art form to listening and understanding the nuances when you're
Hmm.
mixing, and understanding where things are panned, where things are present, and all these different everything. And also there is when you're creating, you can't just do everything AI. There are, like I said, there's nuances. There's also theories in terms of or psychology in regards to looking at
Hmm.
color theory, but also, even when we recorded music, you know, dance music works one way, but you can't when you're trying to replicate, say, for example, rockabilly. If you're doing it all with instrumental that's electronic, there's a difference between that and also recording it live, because it's the air, it's the
Hmm.
space, and it's in your ears, and you can hear it. You hear a difference in the sound, and so people, again, authenticity is the highest frequency for everyone. So they're going to understand, and so the part of this journey as an artist, we want to. It isn't just, hey, I'm going to do this music. I'm just going to do this movie. There are stories that we can tell. Like for example, recently the controversy with Cesar Chavez, and from a Filipino perspective, it's
Yeah.
interesting because we've got Larry Itliong, who actually started that movement. He's Filipino, but if you knew the story about Larry, I think what happened was a lot of white liberals were very scared of this guy because he was from World War II. He had been fighting for workers' rights since the 1930s. He lost seven fingers in World War II. He literally is a Filipino Nick Fury. Like every photo, he's got
Okay. So
he's
yeah,
got that
I
thing.
tell me that story, right?
Yeah,
That's what I want to see
we
is,
need to, and this is what's going to allow us to happen, because there are people coming in going, because there's one version that can be happen, which is an animated version. There's another where suddenly the studio goes, hey, let's invest a little bit more, or you create an anthology of stories. And also it widens, because the problem the gatekeepers in Hollywood is that they pick and choose who gets to tell their story based
right.
on, you know
And
it,
I was going to say, so we said that animated DreamWorks film dropped, and then I was trying to think what was the most
right.
recent that I was aware of, and I went, oh, Tresse, because I was trying to explain to somebody what
Yeah.
Tresse was,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and how many years has that been? And
Right.
something else must have been made, but maybe not. And so, yeah, or at least so that someone like me can be aware of it and consume it. Definitely went
Yeah,
through a major phase of Korean drama
right,
and Korean horror. My God,
right.
so yeah, so
Yeah,
okay.
we want to so here's the other thing. It's like I tell people, we don't want to just throw things out there and like say I want to be representative. You can't just do that. You want to be an artist. So my own my own thing is that I really value people that this is a new renaissance. So when the when the printing press came out, right after that, it was at the suddenly you had the Renaissance, right?
Yeah.
Italian and all the Renaissance that occurred during that French Renaissance, all these different things. Photographs happened, and then so suddenly there came a different type. It wasn't photorealistic photography and portraits. Now it's like you have different movements, Art Nouveau, for example.
Hmm.
Then you had the a Japanese style that can actually suddenly be represented because it was different. And now what happens is that we can have a different type of uh, people can come in and say, wait, we don't have to have storytelling one way. We can have interpolative visuals like the Spider Verse, for example, Into the Spider Verse, where things are coming in and out. It's very punk
Hmm.
rock slash hip hop in terms of the cutting.
Yeah.
You have different styles of like Baz Luhrmann, where he just broke all the rules and said, "I'm going to make it musical and weird and just fabulous." Like you're just
Hmm.
like I'm a theater. I come from theater too, so I see that kind of stuff and I'm like, yeah, I want to see. Things don't necessarily even have to live in film now because of AI. We can create these backdrops and we have LED, backdrops and everything else. And
Yeah.
now we have a
And
new
no,
kind of theater experience,
and
right?
nobody's criticizing like Disney has used the volume, right, for
Right,
Mandalorian. That
right.
is all a virtual, and it took me forever to figure out what Jon Favreau was talking about when he like filmed The Lion King in
Hmm.
the in virtual reality.
Right.
So yeah, maybe it's not the tool. I
Yeah.
remain skeptical. I'm sure many people who
Sure.
watch this will, but I do want to see where it goes.
Yeah.
And it's not, by the way, I'm not saying, look, this is inevitable, give in, because I'm still going to want the personal. I'm still going to want the human.
Right.
You're committed to that. Because you mentioned Baz Luhrmann a few times, and I would say the thing is that even with all the crazy that Baz
Hmm.
Luhrmann, and also one of my favorite filmmakers,
Yeah.
uh, it is still so human.
Yeah.
Like I watched the Strictly Ballroom, and I cry at the end of that every time.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so
That's
beautiful.
yeah, yeah.
And the same with Moulin Rouge,
Yeah.
and so it's it's not the pencil, it's what we do with it.
And it's also keeping the author like, I watched Elvis Epic and it was just amazing because you're sitting there and I'm hearing I saw some of the comments from people like, wow, he learned 200 songs, just and you had to come in like you had to be there to he'd say bridge over trouble he'd say bridge and that meant
Yeah,
bridge over troubled water or he goes
yeah,
burning love and
yeah,
you had to watch him because Elvis is at a phase at that point where he's like he's a voodoo priest like all his body shakes is no
yeah,
longer it's no longer kind of from that R&B 50s style and then rockabilly but suddenly now he's kind of like Tom Jones, where it's and Tina Turner, and which were his
yeah,
two inspirations at that time, and suddenly he's changing in that way. So
yeah.
I think we that's what I'm saying is that uh, in regards to my own in regards to our AI material, that's what I'm looking for. That's how I want to express myself in that way. Only difference is that where Elvis had his orchestra, now my orchestra is there's me and my friends, or just me, and I conduct, or I could be
Hmm.
Prince. Prince
Well, and
he's
how
coming
many
on the
people,
board. He recorded everything himself. You know,
and in the
yeah. So
80s, to go back to it, the Casio tone came out, and we all thought we could be one man bands. you know,
Yeah, and they didn't.
and oh
Right?
no,
Yeah.
oh no. But yeah, I do have to wrap this up,
Sure,
but
absolutely. Yeah.
this is a great conversation. And like I said, you know, hey everybody, it's next. It doesn't have to be the direction you choose to go, but if AI is sort of inevitable, this is what I'd rather hear it be, you know.
Mhm.
And so
I want to continue that conversation. I want people to, but also I want people to be. I have an upcoming visionary class in Filipino Town. So part of that class is about developing your skills as a polymath,
yeah,
and laying down the foundation for using AI as assistive, because it is necessary to be a polymath, and people will
yeah.
discover that.
Okay. Well, thank you, Leo, for giving the time, and I just excited by the news. And
Thank
as
you.
always, when I interview somebody, thank you for being a friend. You know, you promise to use your powers for good, then I'm good. All
Yeah, I do.
right.